Chapter 27, The Flower Power Fogies. Just before it kills us, the dragon honks. I'm standing there like a total donut head, holding tight to Worm because we're dragon bait, we're history, when the monster with shining eyes honks at us. Then it beeps. I'm pretty sure dragons don't honk, and I'm completely positive they don't beep. Cars beep. Trucks beep. Buses beep. My brain has barely figured it out when Dip leaps out of the prairie schooner and gives us both a hug. Howdy doody, kids. Man, are we glad to see you. By now, my eyes have gotten used to the headlights, and I can see the old painted-up school bus filling up the tunnel. And behind Dip is this other old dude I can't quite make out. He's coming at us real careful like he's afraid we'll disappear or run away. Max, he says, and then I know. It's Grim, my grandfather, which is like impossible. I'm so confused about how he could be here with the dippy hippie or why the prairie schooner came roaring into the mine like a mean old dragon that I can't think of anything to say. Grim, he's not too cool with words either, so he just gives me this stiff kind of hug, and then he clears his throat and says, "Well, so, fancy meeting you here, huh?" It feels like I swallowed an apple or something, my throat is that choked up, which is totally stupid because I should be happy, right? But instead, it's like somebody punched me in the chest and I can hardly get my breath. Dip, he takes charge and herds everybody onto the bus. We may have to make a sudden getaway, he says, making it sound like a joke, except it turns out he's not joking. What happened is, after Frank and Joni tried to turn us in for the reward and we had to run away or get arrested, Dip decided it was all his fault and he had to do something about it. Finally, I did the right thing, Dip explains. I called the police in your hometown and they gave me your grandfather's phone number. He hopped a plane and met me at a campground in Nebraska, and we've been driving ever since. He looks at stern-faced Grim and shakes his head. Your grandpa's a funny old codger, but we get along okay. Grim goes, I'm no older than you are, you flower power fogey. And Dip starts laughing so hard his glasses fall off and his big belly shakes. That's it, he says. We're the flower power fogies. Grim makes a face and snorts, but you can tell he kind of likes the idea, even if he won't admit it. We heard you'd been sighted in Chivalry, and when we got here, the sheriff told us you'd run down into the old mining tunnels, Dip explains. We thought you were goners, both of you, but we started searching for another way into the mine and got lucky. Then, what do you know, our prayers were answered and you're both okay. Worm is flopped down on the old sofa, testing the springs, and when Dip mentions the part about prayers being answered, she grins like crazy and her eyes are so bright and green you can hardly stand to look at her. Grim clears his throat and goes, Anybody got any ideas? I hadn't really thought beyond finding these two, Dip whispers to him. Grim nods to himself. At this point, it's their word against, that man, he says very quietly. Dip fiddles with one of his pigtails like he does when he's thinking hard. After a while, he goes, We need to find Max a good lawyer. I got a little money saved up and you're welcome to it. We'll manage, Grim says, but thanks. The amazing thing is, somehow they both know I didn't do anything wrong, even without me telling them, which makes me think if you stick to the truth, you'll be okay, even if the rest of the world thinks you're a liar. Dip brightens up and says, I've got another idea. We're all expecting something really amazing, but he says, one word, pancakes. Grim grumbles and goes, That's your big idea? These kids look half-starved, Dip points out. We'll all think better on full stomachs. So I vote we head for the nearest pancake house, eat till we bust, and then we'll figure out what to do next. Pancakes sound good, Worm says. Dip says it's settled and he fires up the prairie schooner and backs it out of the tunnel, going extra careful so he doesn't scratch the paint, which probably nobody but him would notice. When we're almost out of the tunnel, the back windows start to turn orange, which looks weird until I realize the sun is going down. So me and Worm were lost in the mine for a whole day. If you asked me how long it was, I'd have said somewhere between 10 minutes and forever. I'm thinking the sunset is pretty cool, the way the sky looks on fire and the clouds could be giant castles made of smoke, when all of a sudden Dip says a bad word and jams on the brakes. Grim goes, Everybody stay calm, but there's no way I can stay calm when I see the white cop car blocking our way. Dip is tapping his fingers on the wheel and looking in the rearview mirror saying, Darn, I really had my heart set on pancakes. My stomach feels like I've been eating tadpoles again, which I haven't done since I was too dumb to know any better, but my stomach doesn't know that and my brain is having a great time laughing at me. You big moron, it says. What did you expect? A happy ending? Did you really think you could drive off into the sunset and nothing would happen? Huh? Are you really that stupid? Answer me, you big moron. I want to tell my brain to shut up, but it's too late. Sheriff Goodman is already knocking on the door of the bus. Open up, he says. I want you all to come out real peaceful, one at a time. No sudden moves and no fooling around. Dip opens the bus door. No problem, he says to the sheriff. Dip gets out first, then Grim, then me. The sheriff is giving me this look like if he stares hard enough, the truth will just melt right out of me. Grim goes, There's been a mistake, officer. Max never meant any harm. He was trying to protect the girl. Her stepfather is the real culprit. Could be, the sheriff says. That's for a court to decide. He unsnaps a pair of handcuffs from his belt. Maxwell Kane, you're under arrest. The weird thing is, even though I should feel really terrible and low and miserable, I don't. Not even close. I'm too happy that Grim and Dip are there to take care of Worm, and anyhow, sleeping in a jail cell can't be much worse than sleeping in a freight car or an old saloon with holes in the roof, and I did both of those and came out okay. I'm thinking maybe prison won't be so bad after all, and they'll probably let me read books, and maybe I'll take up a hobby and be the Birdman of Alka-Seltzer or whatever. Hold out your hands, the sheriff tells me. He's just about to put the cuffs on me when the cop car door creaks open. I told you to stay in the car, the sheriff says real sharp. But the undertaker gets out anyhow, with his black clothes and his black hat. His face is pointed like a hatchet and his eyes are full of hate. He comes barging up, jamming his finger at me like a gun. Where is she? He shouts, spit flying from his mouth. What have you done with Rachel? You've been brainwashing her, haven't you? Turning her against me. That's when Worm sneaks out of the bus holding her bag of books. She tries to hide behind me, but the undertaker makes a grab at her and she ducks away. She won't look at him, no matter what. Rachel, he says. I'm not Rachel, she shouts. Rachel is dead. Then Worm moves so quick that nobody can stop her. I go, no, don't. But it's too late. The darkness has already swallowed her up.